Good day, learners. How are you? I hope you're all fine and well, safe and sound. Anyways, welcome to our new video lesson. And I bet this will be very interesting to all since we're going to explore the body system which controls everything. All right, but before that, let me present to you first our objectives. And I bet this is very important para guided tayo kung ano yung kailangan nating i-target. Diba? So after completing this lesson, you are expected to describe the trends and compare various strategies used by organisms to respond to external and internal stimuli. We're going to explore more about the nervous coordination, integration, and how it controls. So fasten your seatbelts. Let's go. All right, so have you ever seen this kind of snail in person? If not, as you can see here in the figure, it's very beautiful. But did you know that this is also very dangerous? So what makes this snail such a deadly predator? So this tropical cone snail, or the so-called Corms geographus, is a carnivore. It hunts, kills, and dines on fish by injecting venom with a hollow harpoon-like parts of its mouth. This cone snail paralyzes its free-swimming prey in seconds. Ganun lang kabilis. The venom is so deadly that unlucky scuba divers have died from just a single injection. Wow! So what makes this cone snail venom so fast-acting and very lethal? Bakit nga ba? So I do some research, and according to some scientists, namely, sabi ni Baldomero Oliveira, he discussed in his interview that the answer why this snail is a deadly predator, it is because of a mixture of molecules that disable neurons. Meron kasi siyang molecules within itself na dinidisable ay ang neurons, ang mga neurons. As we know, neurons are the nerve cells that transfer information within the body. And because the venom almost instantaneously disrupts neuronal control of locomotion and respiration, an animal attacked by the cone snail can neither defend itself nor escape. Ayan. So, wow. 'Di ba? Akala natin hindi sila ganun ka-deadly, or I mean, kahit ganyan sila kaliit in a very simple body plan, they can also, or they can able to kill their prey by just by having this kind of unique um, body plan as well as unique molecule on itself, 'di ba? So ang galing lang naman ng ganitong animal, yung kanyang tina-target ay yung neurons na mismo. As we know, pag halimbawa namatay na yung mga neurons natin or hindi na siya functional, hindi na din functional ang body natin. Ganon ka-importante yon. Alright, moving on. I want you to imagine that you are in a movie theater. 5 minutes after the movie played, and while still other moviegoers find their seats, an announcement was flashed on the big screen. Ito yon, nakasulat. We're feeling a little extra today, so we prepared a game for you. What you have to do is to find a special brown colored coin with leathery texture. Once you find it, consider watching our movies paid in your lifetime. Hindi ka na magbabayad pa. Then, all the lights were turned off, the big screen displayed nothing, and everyone started searching for this special coin. Wow, that's, imagine that game could be quite very challenging, 'di ba? Complicating that by imagining na yung special coin is being tossed in the air. Paano nga ba makikita yon? Wow, ang hirap. Okay, so do you think may makakakita ng special coin na yon? Ang hirap, 'di ba? Paano nga ba yung dilim-dilim? And did you know that is how hard for bats when they go hunting at night? How do they hunt? And how do their prey evade being hunted? Ayan. If you want to know more about paano nga ba nag-hunt itong ating mga bats, meron akong na-prepare ditong video clip or yung ating link. Makikita nyo naman nasa screen natin. So, yung title nun ay Moth Mimicry Using Ultrasound to Avoid Bats. Paano nga ba? This is an interactive video. Ayan. And pagkatapos yung mga panood yun, you will learn that bats will utilize echolocation. This is a type of biological sonar that uses high-frequency sound waves to locate their preferred food source. And they generate short, loud bursts that bounce off moth-sized insects. Halimbawa, merong moth, ayan, creating the return echo. Ayan. Over time, however, these preys evolve ways to escape being hunted. Ano nga ba ginagawa ng mga moths na ito? Some, like the owlet moths, release their own ultrasound pulses produced by their wings. Meron silang ultrasound pulses sa kanilang wings, which signal bats that they are poisonous. Ang galing lang, ano. Bawa, ayan, ginamitan ng echolocation itong bats, mga bats natin. At nakita siya ng mga owlet moths. Ayan, yung mga moth natin. So, ang ginagawa ng mga moths na ito, they, produced some pulses para masignalan itong mga bats na, oh, poisonous ako, huwag mo akong kainin. So, this predator-prey interaction exhibits the outcome of evolutionary advances in the nervous system and sensory capabilities of the different organisms. And that is our main topic for today. Let's explore more. But before digging up our lesson, let's play first a quick game. So our game is entitled Paubusan Challenge. Wow! Paano nga ba ito ginagawa? So I want you to prepare a paper, kahit scratch, okay na yon, and a pen, of course. So what you're going to do is that write as many as you can without searching the internet, okay? Yung mga terms or words associated with the nervous system. Ayan. When you hear the word nervous system, what comes into your mind? So, after, I'll give you 20 seconds to do that. And when I say stop, ayan, please stop writing and be honest. Tingnan natin kung ano yung maisusulat ninyo at kung may marami kayong alam about this system. Ayan. So, are you ready? Do you have your pen and paper right now? Because, ayan, start natin yung ating game. Okay, so your 20 seconds starts now. Zero. All right. So please stop writing right now. Please be honest. Okay, so how was the activity? Let's see. Kindly count your words, yung mga naisulat ninyo. And write down yung mga naisulat nyo ngayon. Nakikita nyo ngayon yung mga terms na associated sa nervous system. Meron kayong makita dyan ngayon, cross it out, then bilangin ninyo kung ilan yung tama ninyo. Or kung meron man kayong naisip pa na wala dito sa screen na nakita nyo ngayon, please just write it and make use of our in-call messages or sa comment section natin, isulat nyo yung mga wala dito. Ayan. So, medyo marami, ano? Cerebellum, midbrain, hypothalamus, brain, neurons, nerve, and the likes. Ayan, lahat yan. Okay, so upon doing this simple activity, I believe that your brain cells was challenged, diba? And tried to recall or remember things. And did you know by just doing this kind of activity or this activity, maybe you are wondering right now, diba? How amazing our body is, especially our brain, diba? So for this lesson, we're going to have an exploration on the body system that controls everything about us. But before that, ayan, pag nabilang nyo na yung mga terms na meron dito sa screen or kung wala man, please, tell me kung ilan yung mga nakuha ninyong mga names, yung mga words na naisulat ninyo for just 20 seconds. Okay. Now, let us explore this nervous system. Ano nga ba ito? So this kind of system is a collection of tissues and specialized cells that provides information about the environment, serve as signaling pathways throughout the body, and integrates information input to generate responses. That's according to Noyd, Kogel, and Hill in 2017. The nervous system works with the endocrine system, alam natin yan, in communicating signals and regulating biological processes for the body to maintain homeostasis, diba? Only that regulation is relatively more rapid than hormonal regulation. Throughout the animal kingdom, nervous systems differ in structure and complexity. Let us check out several representative organisms and see what structures they possess in performing cell-to-cell communication and how such communication is interpreted and converted into action. Now, let's explore more about this. So what you can see here in the figure is the evolution and diversity of the nervous system. From the development of nerve nets into cephalization on nerve cords. Ayan. So, iisa-isahin natin to ngayon. But first, let's have another activity. Madali lang ito. So, as you can see here in the figure, try to guess. Which animals do you think do not possess a brain? Please write your answer in our in-call messages or sa comment section. Yung animal A, B, C, D, E, and F ba? Alright, are you done? I hope you are done. Tingnan natin. So, brains, as we know, are essentially group of clustered neurons, diba? So, these are filled with nerve cells that animals, including us humans, that control our all bodily functions. So, yung mga creatures without brains tend to be extremely simple animals. Ano nga ba yung mga simple animals as you can see na nasa figure? They used to be rudimentary biological characteristics to survive. Many are immobile, using sensory nerves to find food and avoid danger. So, yung dito sa figure, aside from C, yung planarians, and E, lahat yan ay walang brain. Namely, yung A, the sea anemone, B, the jellyfish, D, the sea star, F with the sea slugs. Those are some examples of animals that do not possess a brain. And I wish and I really hope at least may isang tama kayo. Okay. Moving on. Ayan. Many organisms have mechanisms that enable them to respond to factors in the environment. The presence of nervous system is a characteristic that is very unique to animals, diba? Kasi wala yan yung mga plants natin, yung mga autotrophs natin. Most animals, except parazoans, sabi ko kanina, they utilize a nervous system to detect stimuli in the environment and then perform a coordinated reaction in response to the stimuli. For example, yung mga animals may use their nervous system to detect chemical signals that allow them to move toward a food source or away from a predator, 'di ba? While there are varying levels of complexity in animal nervous system, they all receive sensory input. Tandaan natin yan. Which is processed to direct a coordinated reaction. An early example of a nervous system is found in planarians. Ano yung mga planarians? Ito, nakita ninyo. Platyhelminthes. A bilateral organism with a simple body plan, as you can see here. Planarians have, two lateral nerve cords, yung mga bundle of nerves, joined together by transverse nerves. The arrangement is called a ladder-like nervous system. Para siyang ladder. The simple brain receives sensory information from the eye spots, ayan, and sensory cells in the auricles. The two lateral nerve cords allow a rapid transfer of information from the cerebral ganglia to the posterior end, and the transverse nerves between the nerve cords keep the movement of the two sides coordinated. The nervous organization in planarians is a foreshadowing of the central and the peripheral nervous system found in more complex invertebrates such as earthworms and of course in invertebrates like us, humans. So we're going to explore more about the nervous system of planarians later on. So this is the nervous system organization, itong figure na ito. At nakikita ninyo ngayon, yung Hydras, yung mga nidarians natin, yung meron silang organized neurons, may individual neurons sila, organized in a diffused nerve net. Yung ating purple na nakita nyo ngayon. While from B to H, those are animals with more sophisticated nervous system that contain groups of neurons. Yung mga blue, organized into nerves and often ganglia and brain. Ayan. So let's explore. First, we have this sponges or the porephyrin. They rely on their sensory cells found in their epithelial lining. Sponges are the simple creatures, yet they are expert filter feeders. Finifilter nila kasi yung pagkain nila, straining tens of thousands of liters of water through their bodies every day to collect their food. Their mastery of this complex behavior is all the more remarkable because they have no brain, wala silang utak, nor even a single neuron to their name. Sponges do not have network nervous system, but they possess. Meron kasi silang ciliated sensory cells which sense and control water flow in their body. Yung mga cells na yon. Especially yung mga color cells or the choanocytes as you can see here. Ayan. These cells are found in the epithelial lining of the sponge osculum. Yung osculum, yun yung large opening to the outside through which water exists. Ayan. So, in an article written by Fote in 2014, sabi niya, sneezing sponges provide evidence of a new sensory organ in ancient lineage. Ibig sabihin, nag-sneeze itong ating mga sponges. An inflation or contraction response or the so-called sneeze was exhibited by demosponges. Yun yung largest class in the phylum of Phyloporifera as coordinated response to particle accumulation inside their body. Furthermore, chemicals that exhibit the sensory abilities of non-motile cilia in other animals also inhibit the sensory ability of cilia in sponges, or the so-called the sensory cells. In short, they also inhibit the sneeze response. These findings support that the cilia's roles in sensing stimuli and converting them into a behavioral response. In addition, touch, pressure to the outside of the sponge triggers local contraction of its body. 'Di ba? Kung merong malapit na organism like mga fish, halimbawa na lumapit dun sa sponge na yon, usually gumagalaw sila. At of course, yung pressure of water. Recently, more and more amazing facts are being discovered in these non-bilaterians. Yan. Among this is the discovery of about 25 sponge genes. Meron silang genes that are very similar to human genes, which allow for synapses to happen. Wow. However, the exact roles of these genes play in sponge are still vague and will require a lot of more studies. Kung pareho nga ba yung function ng mga genes na yon sa human beings or some other animals. So after the porepherans or the mga sponges, we have this Nidarians or the jellyfish. Yan, they have nerve nets actually. Radial animals like this jellyfish have diffuse nervous system, which is the simplest type of nervous system. Although they lack a central control organ, which is the brain, they have these nerve nets. Ano yun? These are mesh of interconnected neurons or nerve cells that spread throughout their bodies. Nakita nyo ngayon sa figure. And these nerve nets vary among species. Nagva-vary naman siya sa iba't ibang mga species ng mga jellyfish. For example, in some jellyfish, a slow transmission nerve net coordinates tentacle movement, and a faster transmission nerve nets coordinate swimming. Ayan. Electrical signals are being relayed from one neuron to another in more than one direction. This triggers like body contraction, allowing them to change shape or direction as when they engulf food or escape predators. Some jellyfish have structures with specialized receptors for light, balance, chemical, and touch detection. Ayan. Medyo bumongga na sila as compared dun sa mga sponges. Altogether, these receptors provide nidarians with highly successful adaptations to living underwater. Diba? Similar with jellyfish, yung Hydras natin have nerve nets too, which are concentrated around their mouth. Nakita nyo ngayon. But unlike jellyfish, they don't have specialized cells for touch and chemical detection. Mostly kasi sessile sila, hindi sila moving. Ayan. Tandaan ninyo, Nidarians have nerve nets, but they do not have brain. Alright, so let me share to you this new facts or new discovery about Hydra. Did you know that Hydras is now the first animal to have one of these maps created for the whole body na map nila yung galaw ng neurons or yung transmission ng neurons throughout the whole body of these animals. Ayan. Paano nga ba nila ginawa yun? According to some scientists, as I research ko siya, very awesome milestone worth celebrating yung nakita nila. Kasi, ito yung ginawa nila. Ayan. They recorded live yung firing of every neuron in the animal's body. And this breakthrough in imaging the nervous system of Hydra. Alam natin yung Hydra, a tiny transparent creature related to jellyfish, as it twitches and moves has provided insights into how such simple animals control their behavior. To find out, ang ginawa ng mga scientists, namely yung Yaste and College Christophe Dopre, they have this genetically modified Hydra. Ginamitan nila ng biotechnology. Ginawa nila, in-inject nila yung calcium, yung glowing calcium sa bodies ng mga Hydras. Since calcium ions rise in concentration when neurons are active and fire a signal. Yung scientists na yon were able to relate behavior to activity in glowing circuits of neurons. For example, a circuit that seems to be involved in digestion in the Hydra stomach-like cavity became active whenever the animal opened its mouth to feed. So this circuit may be an ancestor of our gut, ang ating tiyan, ang ating nervous system as well, sabi ng mga scientists na yon. So to know more about this, ayan, meron akong link, nakikita nyo ngayon sa ating screen. tingnan natin kung paano nga ba nila to ginawa at paano nga ba nila ni-record yung firing of neurons. That's it. Okay, so after Nidarians, we have this echinoderms. Ayan, the sea star. Wala pa rin silang brain, but they have this nerve ring in its center, like a relay station that coordinates the movement of its arms. This nervous system relays impulses from light, touch, and chemical sensors around its body. Alam natin mostly itong mga sea stars have 5 arms, mean different way of moving through the world. Ayan. So, the radial nervous system of sea stars and other echinoderms is a modified form of a nerve net. Na-modify siya, parang nag-evolve na siya. It displays a selective organization of neurons, which is more evolved than Cnidarians' diffused nerve net. A nerve ring surrounds a sea star's mouth, yan, nasa gitna, and from this nerve ring arises large radial nerves which extend onto each of its arms. These radial nerves further branch off, forming networks which resemble the nerve nets found in Cnidarians. Parang pareho yung nakita nila. So yung mga branch of forming networks na meron dito sa arms ng mga sea star. They are responsible for coordinating the animal's movement. At the tip of each arm, nakita ninyo, meron niyang eye spots. May mga mata dyan, nakalocate dyan, which contain light-sensitive pigments that allow sea stars to detect changes in light intensity or brightness. Imagine, as you can see here sa ating GIF, a creature with such a radically different body plan that we, yung mga bilateral organisms, parehong natin, humans, can rely fathom how they have been so successful. 'Di ba? Marami silang species, maraming iba't ibang ways to adapt in a certain environment. Sea stars and other echinoderms move and feed like no other animals. They are animals that followed a different evolutionary path after evolving from the same bilateral ancestors like us. Many still can see stars like starfish, but they certainly aren't fish. Hindi sila isda. They do not have head, no tail, all are arms. Sea stars are just that, stars. Star-like. Ayan, yung kanilang structure, body structure. Based on the 5-part radial symmetry ng kanyang arms, though, di ba, may mga sea stars naman na may maraming arms. One of the key functions of these arms is for coordination in the center of their bodies and then passed down sa kanilang mga arms. The sea star has no brain, but remember, they have this nerve ring in its center to relay stations that coordinates the movements of its arms. And this kind of system relays impulses, as what I said, from light to touch and chemical sensors around its body. So, ayan. Alam natin na ang sea stars, ayan, nakikita ninyo ngayon, meron silang arms na nag-move. Ayan, so they have a water vascular system that radiate as like canals down each from a central ring canal encircling the mouth. They move on hundreds of tiny water-filled tube feet. Ayan, which works well for slowing or slow movement or slow-moving bottom-dwelling animals. Tandaan ninyo, itong mga tiny water-filled tube feet, tubig lang yan. Ayan. Ang inside of this feet are waters. Waters lang. But, this is very important para sila makamove. So, sea stars live in every ocean and inhabitants from shallow tide pools to the deep of the sea. Sabi ni Gail Cayley, she is a marine biologist. Sabi niya, no brain, no problem. And without a brain, they have different way of interacting with the world, 'di ba? If you look down a sea star, you will see how incredible world of structures na meron sila. There are short tentacles that help the sea star take oxygen from the surrounding water. And these are tiny creatures that keep the surface clean by discouraging other animals from settling there. And there are, as well, meron silang spines for protection. That's it. Okay, so the next level of evolutionary complexity are the bilateral animals. When we say bilateral, those are animals with body shapes that are mirror image. Pareho, along a midline. Meron silang midline. Parang tayo, humans, di ba? Mirror din naman, bilateral tayo. As they are bilaterally symmetrical, then we can expect them to possess bilateral nervous system as well. So let's us first take a look at flatworms, mga planarians, namely itong ating platyhelminthes. Flatworms have a cerebral ganglia which hold a concentration of nerve cells. In the absence of a true brain, the cerebral ganglia serve as the primitive control center responsible for forming basic function of integrating sensory inputs and translating them to movements. Usually, two ventral refers to the underside of the body. Longitudinal nerve cords arise from the cerebral ganglia. Ibig sabihin, meron na silang utak. Ito na yung pinaka-simplest organism that possess a brain. And yung cerebral ganglia, it extend to the posterior, back on its position yun, sa lower part, nakita nyo ngayon sa figure, end of the body. Ayan. Transverse or extending across nerve cords connect the two longitudinal nerve cords. Diba? As you can see, they also link the cerebral ganglia to the eye spots. Ayan, meron silang mata which perceive light. Since flatworms prefer living in the dark, literally residing in poor little environment to escape from predators. When their eye spots sense light, they send signals to the cerebral ganglia. Then later in turn interprets that these signals and controls the planarian body to move away from sunlight. So usually makikita sila sa dilim. Okay? Tandaan natin, flatworms have ladder-like nervous system, longitudinal nerve cords from the cerebral ganglia, and connected by the transverse nerves. And again, these are the simplest organisms that possess a brain. Okay, so after planarians, we have this annelids and arthropods, the next level of organisms or animals. But before that, tayo natin, let me see. If you have any ideas, can you give me some example of animals under the phylum Annelida? Please make use our in-call messages or just comment down below or sa ating comment section. I'll give you 10 seconds. Just a guess. Who among you know some example of animals under this phylum? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, time's up. I guess, naging honest kayo. Di kayo nag-search sa internet. Okay. So, ano nga ba itong mga animals under the phylum Annelida? Those are, namely, first, we have earthworm, yung mga leeches, lagworms, polychaetes, and more. Ayan. Siyempre, alam din natin itong mga arthropods, those are insects. Lahat ng klase ng insects belongs to the phylum arthropods. So, let's explore kung ano nga ba yung nervous system ng mga arthropods. Okay, so let's think about where our spinal cord runs. I want you to close your eyes and visualize it. It's along our back, right? So, it must be the same in annelids or worms. Think again. The same nga ba? Annelids have their equivalent of a spinal cord running along the ventral or underside of the body. In fact, there are single or double nerve cords that run from the front of the body to the tail end along what is essentially the annelid's belly. In this diagram, as you can see, ito yung anatomy of the nervous system ng mga earthworms. The nerve cord originates at the head end of the annelid worm, a region known as the cerebral ganglion. Ayan. So, dyan natin nakikita yung kanyang brain. Meron silang brain, yung version ng kanilang brain. And a bundle of nerves that coordinates movement towards and away from the external stimuli, such as light, temperature, or touch, located dyan sa brain nila. So some annelids, such as earthworms, you can see they have smaller ganglion beneath what serves as the worm's throat or the pharynx. The ganglion is therefore known as as you guess it, the subpharyngeal ganglion. Hindi lang natin naipakita dito sa figure. Remember, alam natin yung beneath. Ayan. So, nakikita nyo ngayon, the nervous system of the annelida, this kind of species, forms a small brain-like structure right near their mouth end. And the leeches and other worms, or earthworms, have similar systems, or nervous system, where ganglia structures is present. It is a concentration of nerve tissues such and endings developed to control physiological functions. At syempre, ayan, aside from the nervous system, makita nyo yung ibang parts niya din, yung anus, digestive tract, blood vessels, accessory organs. May puso sila. Marami silang puso actually. Ayan. Pero mayroon silang titawag na main heart. Mayroon silang mga sub-hearts. Okay. That's it. Moving on. Ayan. Yung annelids natin have a paired ventral nerve cords, as what I said, that run along the underside of the body. So, ayan, yung counterpart of the earthworm brain, yung mga nerves na go-originate sa kanyang cerebral ganglion. So, as you can see here sa ating figure, nakikita ninyo na meron ding mga body segments itong ating mga earthworms. Ayan, may mga iba't iba siyang body segments. So, afferent neurons, those which carry impulses from sensory stimuli to the central nervous system, and efferent neurons, those which carry impulses away from the central nervous system, the muscles, are also found in these lateral nerves which connect to the ganglia to the organism's muscle. If the head of the earthworm is separated from its body, it will still be able to move. Kaya nga kahit putulin naman natin yan, still, kaya pa rin niyang gumalaw. But when it bumps into something, it will continue to push forward rather than move away. Earthworms also have different receptors along its body that can detect touch, light, and chemicals. Siyempre, magkaiba yon. Just remember that magkaiba yung annelids and earthworms in terms of their body plan, but they have this dorsal brains and ventral nerve cords. Tandaan nilang. So you can see ito yung examples natin dito. Alright, next we have this mollusks, which have well-developed brains. Ayan. The nervous system of mollusks are more sophisticated compared to the previously mentioned animals. Ano nga ba yung mga under ng mga animals sa phylum Mollusca? Bivalves. Yung mga bivalves, they have just a simple nervous system composed of 3 sets of ganglia connected by nerve fibers. While the gastropods, another animals under Mollusca or phylum Mollusca, they have 6 sets of ganglia. They have tentacles which contain sensory organs. While the cephalopods, itong octopus natin, they have the most complex nervous system among invertebrates. Why? Because they have about 500 billion neurons. Okay? 2/3 of these neurons are in the arms. Those found in their brain are arranged in lobes and tracts. Their eyes are similar to the vertebrate's eyes. It also has its cornea, lens, iris, and retina that can form images and focus on details of an object. They can also perceive shape, color, and texture. Ang galing. Another difference is that the eye of the octopus has no blind spot because the nerve cells leave from the outside of the eyeball. The octopus also have the statocyst located next to the brain, and this statocyst is used to detect changes in gravity and respond to acceleration. That's according to Tudler in 2021. With such combination of neural ability and sense organs, cephalopods or octopus are considered the smartest among all invertebrates. In captivity, they were observed to solve problems like screwing bottle caps to obtain food inside and opening the lids of aquariums to escape. Matalino talaga tong mga octopus. Diba nakikita natin sa mga movie, mga cartoon movies? Ayan. Totoo kasi. They are the most complex. They are the most animals with complex nervous system. Okay. That's it. Now, let us discover the vertebrate nervous system. As we know, this is made up of several levels of organization. The first two main divisions are the central nervous system, or the so-called CNS, and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system, as we know, is composed of the brain and the spinal cord. They are the main control center of the body, while, on the other hand, the peripheral nervous system is composed of the sensory receptors and all the nerves that branch off from the brain and spine. They serve as communication lines that transmit information to the central nervous system and cascade the decision of the central nervous system to the rest of the body. Kung ano yung inutos natin or kung ano yung impulses from the brain, yun yung gagawin ng ating mga peripheral nerves, mga peripheral nervous system natin. It is a set up to work in both direction. The sensory of or afferent division made up of afferent neurons picks up the sensory stimuli, while the motor or efferent sends direction from the brain to muscles and glands. Under the motor division are still other two divisions, somatic and autonomic. As their name suggests, they control voluntary and involuntary responses of the body respectively. The autonomic nervous system is further divided into two sections, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic division. The former puts your body in an alert state, like, the latter puts your body naman, yung parasympathetic, in a relaxed state. And we're going to discuss more of that, or more of those terms, as we move to the next learning guide, or the next lesson. So I guess we are done. So thank you so much for your commitment. Thank you so much for listening, and I really hope that you learned something today. And if you want to ask more about this lesson, or if you have clarifications or questions, as I am always saying, please don't hesitate to ask me. Feel free to send me your personal message. So goodbye everyone, and have a great day.